With overdose deaths related to fentanyl surging, State Senator Melissa Melendez has introduced a bill to crack down on drug dealers. I spoke with her today about Alexandra's Law. Senator Melendez, it's great to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Tell us about Alexandra's Law.
Alexandra's Law is the result of what we're seeing happen across this state and across this country with fentanyl poisoning. People are being given drugs that they think are one thing, and it ends up there are drugs that are laced with fentanyl, which is deadly to human beings, even in the smallest of doses. And so we have people who are selling these drugs to unsuspecting buyers, and we want them to stop dying from it. Just because someone is engaging in a particular behavior that we find may not be the best choice, that shouldn't be a death sentence for them. So this law would say, if you are engaging in this type of behavior, selling these types of drugs, and you get caught and you go to court, you would be advised in court that this type of behavior could result in the death of another human being if you continue in this behavior. Same thing we do with DUI offenses. If you have a DUI, the judge is going to tell you, if you continue this behavior, you may end up killing someone, and that sets it up where you could be charged with a felony if you get caught again.
Who was Alexandra and what was her story?
Alexandra was a young woman. She died 2 days before Christmas, sadly. Her parents were devastated. She was a good kid. She engaged in some behavior that a lot of young people do that was unfortunate, but she wasn't engaging in this behavior because she was trying to die. She was trying to commit suicide. She was an unsuspecting victim, like so many. I mean, we've had over 1,600 just in 1 year die of fentanyl poisoning just in this state alone. And it is a problem, and we've seen the numbers rise just in the past year or so. Last year with COVID, which, not to say that the two are related, but we do know that there is some sort of nexus between an increase in drug use and what's been going on with the lockdown and the pandemic.
Even on the news side, Senator Melendez, we keep hearing about people who are overdosing on fentanyl, and it just seems like the problem continues to get worse. Why do you think this is?
Well, I think what people don't understand about fentanyl is a couple of things. Number one, when they are producing these pills, what happens is, you have people who are making this stuff in, it's not sophisticated. They're making it in a bathtub, in an old oil drum, something like that. And they're taking this particular chemical and dumping it in there. And then they take another chemical and dump it in there. And then take the fentanyl to cut it like a filler and dump it in there. They mix it up, by hand. And then they start placing in these little pill molds. Well, you have no idea how much of that fentanyl is in any particular pill. There could be a very high amount in, say, these 5 pills and none in the others. So the consumer, they have no idea what they're getting. That's what makes it so deadly. And, people, they just don't know that that's what they're getting, which is the problem, which is what we are trying to stop, to put some sort of incentive in place for people to stop selling these drugs. And if you do so, you should know that it may kill someone. And if it does, and you are brought before court, you're going to be held responsible, as you should.
Are you confident the legislation will pass?
I'm never confident anything will pass in Sacramento, to be honest with you. You never know. I'm sure we're going to have some groups come out in opposition to this. They will say that the punishment is unfair. We see this a lot, but I am willing to go forward and explain why it's not unfair. And we're going to have some of the parents come forward and explain why we need this law, because, as a parent, you don't want to see this happen to your kids, regardless of whatever, bad decisions they may make. That it doesn't mean that they deserve to die for that bad decision. And there's just too many. I mean, like I said, over 1,600 just in California alone is way too many people dying of this poisoning.
What is the next step for this legislation to go through?
The next step is it will be assigned to a policy committee, and then we go to battle. Like I said, we're going to have groups who come out and say that this is unfair, and we have to be able to show, why it's in our best interest as a state to pass this bill. And it's never an easy road. Especially when it comes to public safety types of laws, it's never easy. But I feel like I owe it to these parents who have lost a child or a loved one to try to bring this, to a stop, or at least to slow it down.
Okay. Well, Senator Melendez, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.